Well, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like the Golden State Warriors have found what might very well be the fourth Splash Brother. Yes, that's right, the Warriors have seemingly landed yet another sharpshooting draft steal. If the recent draft record is anything to go by, this young player is destined to shoot the lights out and wow the crowd of the Oracle Arena. But before we get into that, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications so you don't miss out on any of our bangers. Right, so who exactly is the fourth Splash Brother that we're talking about? Well, let me introduce you to the man himself. 6'9", forward out of Wisconsin, Patrick Baldwin Jr. Baldwin Jr. was a consensus 5-star recruit coming out of Hamilton High School before going into college. He was invited to the McDonald's All-American Games, the Jordan Brand Classic, and the Nike Hoop Summit. He was a mouth-watering prospect who averaged as much as 24.3 points per game to go along with 10.8 rebounds in his best season in high school to earn him Gatorade Player of the Year honors. He even led his team to the state tournament in his freshman year, wherein he would lose the game to none other than Indiana Pacers cornerstone Tyrese Halliburton and his Oshkosh North. Talk about some elite company right off the bat. Baldwin Jr. averaged a good 12.1 points, 5.8 rebounds, and 1.5 assists on a below par 34% from the field and 26.6 clip from the Rainbow Country in college for the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee Panthers. Not the most eye-popping or most efficient stats, but the scoring talent is very much apparent in the young wingman. His most memorable game here came against Robert Morris, where he put up a career-high 26 points to go with 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 blocks. Better yet, he did this all shooting 64% from the field and 100% from 3, with 6 attempts out of 6. For a volume scorer like him, who's been struggling with efficiency, this was no joke. Games like these could make superstars out of college players, and even get them to be drafted in the lottery. However, he slipped all the way down to the 28th pick of the Golden State Warriors, with teams worrying about his numerous ankle injuries hampering his college career. Let me tell you all why those teams made a massive mistake. So, how's his game? Well, strictly talking about his bag, Pat Baldwin Jr. is already pretty deep. He can score from all 3 levels in a variety of ways. He has made a tight handle at 6'9" and has a smooth jumper, with both skills making him a good shot creator. He also shown a lot of potential in scoring difficult shots from the post, almost like Jason Tatum or a Carmelo Anthony. If he's put in an ISO situation, he'll have the skill and scoring instinct to rise to the challenge. This is Golden State, however, and they have been the stalwart for defense-oriented team basketball with tons of sets centered around patented motion offense. This means less isolations and more shots off the catch and off of cuts, particularly for Baldwin. It's hard to imagine that this won't work to both his and his team's advantage. However, he won't have the pressure to score on his own so early in his career, and he'll be in a system that takes advantage of his height, shooting, and finishing ability to its fullest. Not to mention, he'll be fed by one of the greatest playmakers that the league has ever seen in Steph Curry. Baldwin Jr. can provide valuable spacing, whether it's a 3 or a 4. He can cut if there's an opening, and to top it off, he'll be able to take his opponents off the dribble, if there's a mismatch or he's required to make a play for himself. Golden State has always been an excellent environment for young players to develop their roles offensively, and we'll get into that later, but let's just say for now that the coach Steve Kerr will have a field day with such an underrated offensive talent at his disposal. Defensively, Baldwin Jr. has his weaknesses. He's not the best on-ball defender, certainly not as good as, say, Andrew Wiggins. He might have trouble defending the best of the best wing players at the point of attack, like Tatum, Durant, or Paul George. But come on, the Warriors won't give him those assignments right away. He's still an asset defensively nonetheless, as his height and length will help him become a great off-ball and help defender. Also, again, Golden State's culture can help mold him into more of a two-way wing, like how they trained Wiggins, and he could do much worse than having Draymond Green as his defensive anchor. In short, it's a good fit. It's a very good fit. The Warriors might need to work on some kinks in his game, of course. He'll have to be quicker on his feet defensively, and he has to embrace contact for more high-quality looks instead of taking difficult fadeaways. However, the sky's the limit once he's been integrated into the Warriors team. Speaking of which, Golden State will primarily be using him off the bench to be one of the second unit's wing players at the 3 or 4 spot. We might see some experiments involving Baldwin Jr. playing the 5 position in one of their signature small ball lineups. This will be few and far between if they actually do this, but we know it's a possibility. For his first year, at least, Baldwin Jr. will most likely be a fourth option behind Jordan Poole, James Wiseman, and Dante DiVincenzo. He'll get his shots up, but he'll be asked to operate more behind the scenes and play as what we call a cone. Baldwin Jr. will rarely get the chance to be the focal point of the offense, if at all, and will be tasked more with spacing the floor and cutting to the basket. He'll be learning the ropes in the process, all the while working on his game to take on bigger role offensively in the future, kind of what Jordan Poole did, but more on that later. But anyway, how has he looked in preseason? These games might be meaningless for some people, but it gives us a glimpse of the taste of the team and their players before tip-off. We've gathered quite a bit of preseason already, with the Warriors concluding 2 games in Japan against the Washington Wizards. Simply put, Baldwin Jr. was nice with it. He got 7 points on 4 attempts in just 8 minutes of play. We didn't see much, but we did see him hit a Tatum-esque fadeaway. Maybe a sign of things to come? We'll have to wait and see. He really shone in his second game, scoring 12 points in 17 minutes, with all of it coming from 4 threes and just 5 attempts. Let me just say that this wasn't the raw, trigger-happy prospect that we saw in college. He got his shots from the flow of the offense, getting to a spot where his guard could dime up easily. He also did solid defensively, with some steals leading to easy baskets, showing his value as a help defender. He also gobbled up 6 boards in the comeback win. Steve Kerr had a lot of praise for the new number 7, saying he was terrific. Kerr said just a really good basketball player. He understands the game. You can see with his flow, his movements, his shooting, his passing. He was a great pass in transition. He just gets it. Y'all Golden State Warriors fans should be jumping for joy, because those are some very promising words for your new rookie. To think that his ceiling was said to be Jalen Johnson, a guy who isn't even getting minutes in Atlanta. He actually looks really similar to Michael Porter Jr., who similarly plays as a tall wing in a team-oriented system. NBA Draft. Verdict. So now we ask, how good was this pick exactly? He looks to be the steal of the draft, with his only competition really being Miami Heat's Nikola Jovic. It's up to the Warriors to make the best out of their very promising pick. Historically, the Dubs have been a monster when it comes to getting draft steals. Guys, you have got to understand how good the Warriors front office have been. Save for Andrew Wiggins, their key guys last season have been comprised of draft steals. Draymond Green was a second-round pick. Guys like Jan Vesley, Bismack Biyombo, and Brandon Knight were picked ahead of Klay Thompson. Even the man himself, Steph Curry, was picked 7th overall, behind the likes of Johnny Flynn and Hasheem Thabeet. Who even is that? Most recently, their next man up, Jordan Poole, was also drafted late in the first round, like Baldwin Jr. Actually, he was drafted at the exact same number, at 28. After a couple of seasons alternating between the main roster and the G League, Poole exploded last season. From just 8 in his rookie season, he broke out with 18.5 last season as their spark plug. Hell, he took it upon himself to be the lead guard and that first option whenever Curry and the others struggled. Because of that, the Poole party has been rightfully named the third Splash Brother. Well, it just might be deja vu for the Warriors this season. We're not saying that they have another Jordan Poole in their books, they just might. Golden State has been known to relentlessly squeeze every last ounce of talent out of their roster. Undrafted, unwanted Gary Payton Jr. became an important hustle player. Veteran Nemanja Bjelica was able to maximize his shooting and a unique playmaking ability that hasn't really been seen before. Andrew Wiggins became an all-star starter in his first full season at the Bay Area after being labeled a bust by his entire team in Minnesota. See the pattern here? It's not really that hard to spot. If there's any team in the NBA with the capability to bring the absolute best out of Patrick Baldwin Jr., it's by far the Golden State Warriors, and really no other team comes close. Now don't expect him to challenge the Rookie of the Year, or be a starter in the stacked Dubs division. Now don't expect him to challenge for Rookie of the Year and be a starter in the stacked Dubs roster. Guys, remember, Jordan Poole started out in the G League before breaking out late in his sophomore season. Their 7th overall pick last season, Jonathan Kuminga, is currently undergoing the same process and is set to be integrated into the main roster this season. Baldwin will have his minutes for sure, but he'll have a quiet rookie year. If the Warriors trend is anything to go by, he'll break out somewhere in the middle of his sophomore season and have a most improved player jump in his 3rd year. What's scary about this is the Warriors will be contenders the entire time. It's no question that the champs will have a shot at the title as long as the main man, Steph Curry, is in his prime. By the time he's out of his prime, well, Jordan Poole is there to take the reins as their leader, with Wiggins, Kuminga, and our guy Patrick Baldwin Jr. flanking him. Just like that, the Warriors extend their dynasty with barely a transition period in between the tanking of hits. Baldwin Jr. has the tools to be the outright second option with his speed and 3-level scoring ability at 6'9", being a scary prospect for other teams. If all goes according to plan, Warriors GM Bob Myers has indeed found himself the 4th Splash Brother. How could the league just sit back and let this happen? The Warriors have gotten away with daylight robbery in the draft year after year after year. The people saying that he's an injury risk and his ankle will prevent him from reaching his potential haven't gotten with the program yet. Guys, this isn't the first time the Warriors have drafted a high potential volume shooter with a history of ankle injuries. Sure, that guy struggled with this injury in his first few years in the league, but it's safe to say he hasn't been too bad since. 4 rings, 2 MVPs, 1 Finals MVP, and the status of being greatest and the most iconic shooter of all time. With enough time, training, and gelling, Patrick Baldwin Jr. has it in him to be the Warriors' next draft steal and become the 4th Splash Brother, something that we didn't even think to be possible. If there's any team that'll be able to bring it out of the 6'9" wingman, it's most certainly the team that drafted him. So what do you guys think? Will the sharpshooting Patrick Baldwin Jr. become the Golden State Warriors' 4th Splash Brother? Have the Dubs somehow managed to snatch yet another diamond in the dregs of the late first round? Will the dynasty ever come to an end? Comment your thoughts and opinions down below, and as always, thank you for watching.